let's start off with number 9. Okay. We have 4x minus 2 to the second power. So again, what this really means is this idea. Okay. A common mistake is people want to distribute the power of 2 in. Don't do that. What you want to do is rewrite this as a multiplication problem. So we're going to actually expand it a little bit. So 4x minus 2 to the second really means 4x minus 2 multiplied to itself. Okay? And now we're going to multiply this out using the distributive property. So if you watch the video, we're going to use the distributive property, and this is how it's going to work. We're going to start with the first term, so this first guy, and he's going to multiply with everything in the second polynomial. So 4x times 4x. Okay, so what you want to do is multiply the 4's together. 4 times 4 is 16. And then when we multiply variables, because we're going to multiply x times x, okay, when you multiply variables, you actually are going to add the exponents. All right, and what I mean by that is this x, even though it doesn't show, there's really a small power of 1 here. Okay, it's an invisible 1, and this has a power of 1. All right, so when we multiply and multiply only, you're going to add these exponents together for the variable. So that means what we really have is x1 times x1, that's really x2. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing for 4x, or 4x times negative 2. So 4 times negative 2, that gives me negative 8. And then in this case, we only have x to the 1, because this guy does not have x, so we just put x to the 1 with the 8. Or just x. Remember, x to the 1 is the same as x. So now we are done with the first term in the first polynomial. So this guy we are done with. We're going to do the same pattern for the second term in the polynomial. So we're going to take negative 2 and multiply to both of these guys. So we go negative 2 times 4x. So multiply the numbers first. Negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. And then we have x1. This guy does not have an x, so we just keep it as x1 or just x. Now we're going to go negative 2 times negative 2. So negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. And none of them have an x, so we just leave it as positive 4. And we are done here. So since I multiplied all my polynomial to all of these, we are pretty much done. Now we have this. So what we did was distribute. Now remember, distribute is just fancy multiplication. And now the next step after you distribute is combine like terms. Okay? So we're going to combine like terms, just like we talked about last time. So I'm looking for anything with an x squared, and we don't have it, so I'm just going to rewrite it. Okay, and I like to cross it out, just like I showed you last time, once you're done using it. Now we're going to go to the next term. I'm looking for anything with an x, just an x1, and I have this guy. So we look at the numbers in front, negative 8 and negative 8. Since they're on the same negative team, they're going to make a bigger team. So we're going to have actually a negative 16. Okay, and here's the difference. When you multiply variables, you add the exponents, just like we did here. x1 and x1 was x2. That only works for multiplying. When you're combining like terms, you keep the same variable. Okay, so it's not going to be x2, it's just going to be x. So understand the difference, because this is a common mistake. When you're distributing or multiplying, you're going to add exponents for the same variable. When you're combining like terms or adding and subtracting, you are just going to keep the same variable, just like I did here. All right? So I see that a lot, and it's a common mistake amongst students. So I cross those out, we're done, and when I cross them out, makes it a lot simpler, because now I know all I have to do now is bring down the positive 4. There's nothing else to combine there. And now we want to check, is this in standard form? And what I mean by that is, do I have the highest degree first? So I have power of 2, power of 1, and then the constant. So this is in standard form. We are good to go. Okay? So let's jump down to number 11. So this one, number 10 would be pretty much like this, so I'm not going to do number 10. Let's jump to number 11. So we're going to do the same idea. We're going to take its multiplication. And the reason I know it's multiplication is because there is no sign in between. So it's very important you see that. Okay? So right here, if you look, the two parentheses are next to each other. This means multiplication. Last assignment, you would have something like this. If I had addition or subtraction, you would have a sign in between. Okay, this is addition and subtraction. The reason I'm pointing this out, this is addition, this is multiplication. I have a lot of students that see a problem like this, and guess what they want to do? They want to start distributing. Okay, that is not going to happen when you have a sign in between. The only time you distribute is when it's multiplication and there is no sign between the parentheses. I get this mistake a lot here. So I wanted to point that out to you. All right, so let's do this problem really quick. So we're going to take the first polynomial, negative 4b minus 1, and we're going to take the first term and we're going to multiply with everything in the second polynomial. So here, multiplied there. And then just take it piece by piece. So we're going to do the numbers first. Negative 4 times 5. That gives me negative 20. And now we look at the variables. I have b and b squared. Remember, the b by itself is really b1. Okay? So when I'm multiplying the variables, we simply just add the exponents. So 1 plus 2 is 3. So it's going to be b to the third. All right, and now we move on. Negative 4b times positive 4b. So do the numbers first. Negative 4 times positive 4, that's negative 16. And then we look at the b's. b1 or b times b. Remember, this b over here is actually b1 as well. So b times b in this case is going to give us b squared, or b to the second. Okay? And then we move on here. Negative 4 times negative 5. That gives me positive 20. And then we have b1 and no b at all, so it's just going to be b. You could put b1 here, but if it's just b1, you can leave it as b. All right, so we are done with the first guy. Now we're going to do the same process for the next term in my first polynomial. So negative 1 times all of these. So negative 1 times 5b to the second. So negative 1 times 5, that's going to give me negative 5, and we just put it over here. Careful with your signs here, okay? So it's negative 5. And then we have b squared. So there's no other b there, so it's just b squared. Now we're going to go negative 1 times 4b. And that's going to give me negative 1 times 4. That gives me negative 4. And we only have a b. All right, and then the last one is negative 1 times negative 5. That actually gives me positive 5. Okay, so we just got done distributing. Now we're going to take our next line and combine like terms. So I just start with the first term. So I'm looking for any b's to the third. Any other b's to the third? Nope. So I'm just going to write him down. Negative 20b to the third. We are done with him, so I cross him out so I don't get confused later. Now we go to the next term. We're looking for b's to the second, and I actually have a b to the second here. So we ask ourselves, we have negative 16 and negative 5. Negative 16 and negative 5. They are on the same team, so they're going to make a bigger team. So that's going to give us negative 21. Okay? And now, since we're combining like terms or adding and subtracting, the b squareds just turn into b squared. We do not add the exponents here. So it's just b to the second. Gone, gone. Okay, we move on to the next term. We're looking for another b. So we have b to the first, or just b, and here's another b. So we have positive 20 and negative 4. They are on different teams. So they're going to eliminate each other, but the positives are going to win because they're bigger. So I know my answer is going to be positive. And the positives are going to win by 16. So 20 minus 4 essentially. 16. And then the b's, we just put them down here. We do not add the exponents. So it's just b. Once you're done with that, cross and cross. Okay, and now you're just left with positive 5, nothing else to combine, so we just bring him down. Okay, and before we could say this is the final answer, is this in standard form? So I have the highest powered, the highest degree first, the next degree, and then no degree. Okay, so this would be my final answer. All right. Cool. Let's try number 13 and we'll call it. Okay. So number 13, I'm actually going to do the work up here just so I can have some room. Okay. So number 13, we're going to distribute because the parentheses say we're multiplying. So negative 4x with all these. So we're going to go a little faster, see if you can keep up. So negative 4x times 6x squared, that's going to give me negative 24x to the third. Negative 4x times 4x. That's going to give me negative 16x squared. Negative 4x times 3, that's negative 12x. All right, and we are done with the first guy. Now let's do the next guy. 2 times 6x squared, that's positive 12x squared. Two times 4x, that's positive 8x. And then 2 times 3, that's positive 6. Okay, careful with your exponents here. Make sure you added them if you had multiple variables. So now we're going to combine like terms. Start with this guy. I'm looking for x to the thirds. and I don't have it. So I'm just going to rewrite him. Negative 24x to the third. Cross him out because I'm done with him. We move on to the next term. I'm looking for x squareds, and I have one there. So now I just got to add and subtract these depending on signs. So we have negative 16, positive 12. The negatives are going to win, and they're going to win by 4. So it's going to be negative 4x to the second. Remember, you keep the same exponent when you're adding and subtracting. Gone. So now we move on to the next term. We're looking for x's. And you have one here. That gives me negative 12, positive 8. Different teams. So the negatives are going to win again, and they're going to win by 4. And we bring the x in. Oops. Okay, and last but not least, if you notice, there's nothing else to combine with the 6, so we're just going to add 6 at the end. And then double check, is this in standard form? And because the powers are in order from biggest to smallest, we are good. This is standard form. Okay.